You have noticed we've been joined by another of our colleagues, an associate member of the Congressional Black Caucus, the Honorable Bernie Sanders, who has joined us by plane from Vermont, actually. And I'd like to recognize him for questions of all of the three of the panelists at this time. Bernie, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it's a pleasure to be here with you and the members of the Black Caucus who for so many years have been providing a sensible alternative to many of the destructive government policies which have been going on. My statement will be brief. I think there is no disagreement among all of us that we need strong law enforcement. Many of us are in agreement that the 100,000 new police officers are going to be a real help, not only in big cities in America, but in communities throughout the state of Vermont. We need that help, and we appreciate that help. And we support the concept of changing police methods and integrating the police into our communities, as you've been talking about. But I think, Mr. Chairman, the major concern that I have is that too often in the discussion about crime, we are ignoring the economic reality that is facing tens and tens of millions of people. It seems to me to be absolutely absurd to talk about any crime problem and leave unchanged massive unemployment that exists in community after community throughout the United States of America. And I think if we're serious about addressing the crime problem, there must be radical, and I underline the word radical, changes in our national priority so that we worry a little bit less about spy satellites circulating around the planet for $2 billion apiece, maybe a little bit less about defending Europe and Asia for $100 billion, and say that if we're going to address the crime problem, we've got to give a little bit of hope and a little bit of a chance to tens of millions of people in this country whose standard of living is in decline, who live in communities where they virtually don't know anybody who has a real job. So I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that the most significant anti-crime program this Congress can implement is a major jobs program which puts millions of people back to work in communities throughout this country. I picked up just the other day, and the reason I'm so delighted to be here is that we know the problems that are existing in the African-American communities all over America, the severity of those problems. Front page of a weekly in the state of Vermont, which is a 98% white state, Vermont's Hungry Children. It talks about the growth of hunger among the children of the state of Vermont. And I wonder whether it's in Vermont or in Detroit or Texas or any other state in this country, how the young people who look out and see in our country a grotesque distribution of wealth, where the wealthiest 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90%, when people in their own community are going hungry, I wonder what impact that has on the whole issue of crime. So I think, Mr. Chairman, that crime is an enormously serious problem that we must address. But we must understand that we are not going to be serious about it unless we change the decline in the standard of living for the vast majority of our people, that we state very clearly it is a national disgrace that 5 million kids in this country go hungry, that 2 million people sleep out on the streets, that we address the problem of the gross inequality of wealth in America. And I think if we're not sincere about doing that, giving hope to tens of millions of people who have given up on hope, we are not going to effectively address the problems of crime. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.